Today I'll be sharing with you the best carrot cake recipe. It's so moist, it's fluffy, rich, and it's made with the best ingredients and no refined sugar. This is actually the cake I made for my baby boy Atlas a few months ago when he turned 1. It was a smash hit, no pun intended, and we all absolutely loved it. I think it's pretty fair to say that if you love cake, you will really enjoy this one, and it's coming from someone who's never been the biggest fan of carrot cake. I think it's because over the years I've tested so many different versions of it, and they were either too sweet, too dry, or had very sickly sweet frosting. So whether you're like me or are a big fan of carrot cake already, this recipe is for you. I'm gonna start off by preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius. For this recipe, I'm using 2 of my 7-inch springform pans because I want to stack the layers on top of each other. But feel free to use one large 9-inch pan if that's what you have. Grease the insides of the pans with coconut oil. Cut out the circles of parchment paper and then press them into the bottom of the pan. Next, let's prepare the carrots. Wash them, peel them, and then cut them into large chunks to make it easier to grate. Now grate the carrots finely with a box grater. Alternatively, you can use a food processor or a high-speed blender like a Vitamix, for example. This part is definitely a non-workout, but I think it's worth it because you're left with perfectly unified pieces of carrots that are going to cook evenly. Now that the carrots are all done, transfer them into a container and set them aside for now. In a medium bowl, whisk together 4 eggs at room temperature and about 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Add in 1/4 cup of fresh orange juice and 3 tablespoons of fresh grated ginger. In another bowl, combine 2½ cups of almond flour, 1½ teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Whisk everything together until combined. By the way, I'm not using nuts for this recipe, but this is the part where you would add your nuts, so feel free to add about 1/2 cup of pecans or walnuts, or just skip nuts altogether. Now let's add our dry ingredients into the wet. Stir until combined and until there are no visible lumps. Lastly, you're going to add about 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil. Divide the batter evenly between 2 pans and smooth out the tops with a spatula. Bake these for about 35 minutes. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, consider giving it a like and subscribing to this channel. While the layers are baking, let's work on our cream frosting. Add 2 cups of pre-soaked cashews into a high-speed blender. I soaked them in warm water for about 1 hour ahead of time. Add in 1 cup of coconut cream. I placed a can of coconut cream into the fridge overnight so that the water and the cream can easily separate, so today I'm using cream only. Add in 1/2 cup of maple syrup and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Lastly, scrape off inside of 1 vanilla bean. Just cut it lengthwise, scrape it off with a knife, and add it into your blender. Alternatively, you can use vanilla extract, but I find that for this recipe especially, using real vanilla bean makes a big difference. Blend everything together on high until perfectly smooth and creamy. Transfer the cream into a container and then refrigerate it until it hardens a bit. Okay, the cake layers are now done. I always do a toothpick test to make sure that the inside is perfectly cooked and the toothpick comes out clean. Transfer the cakes onto a cooling rack and then let them cool down completely. Now the best part, assembly and decorating. Place the first cake layer upside down so that the flat part is on top. Pour the creamy frosting over it and stack the second layer on top, flat side down. I'm going to do some final touches and decorate it with tiny baby carrots, which of course is totally optional. Just cut out small pieces that somewhat resemble carrot shape and then add some greens on top. Cover the cake and refrigerate for a few hours or overnight. Now the cake is perfectly set and ready to serve. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do end up making it, please let me know in the comments below how it turns out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.